Welcome to the Run Lift Mom podcast, where we're talking about running, lifting, and momming, not necessarily in that order. Today, I have for you a follow-up to an episode that was never supposed to be an episode. If you'll recall, a few weeks ago, my business coach and maternal mental health advocate, Nina Malosky, had a raw and vulnerable conversation with me that was intended to be podcast practice, but it was so good. We salvaged some of that audio and we shared that conversation with you. If you haven't heard that, I'd love you to go into your queue and then find that episode called Opening Up About Postpartum Depression. You guys, this is a raw conversation between two friends, and I hope you can feel it. We had a lot of great feedback from that, but we felt very strongly about doing a follow-up episode that involved a health professional. What we wanted to do was bring somebody on board to talk about signs, symptoms, resources, and that is exactly what we've done. We have got the gold standard. Beth Warren has been in women's reproductive and mental health for around 20 years. She specializes in perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. She's worked with women with everything from pregnancy loss to infertility, which is something I've had personal experience with, birth trauma, adoption, surrogacy. She is the gold standard, you guys. And you're going to be able to tell from this conversation how empowering her clients is a foundation of the way that she helps and does business. I almost do her a disservice calling it a business because you can tell that this is Beth's passion. So without further ado, this is a roundtable conversation between myself, Nina Malosky, and gold standard Beth Warren. All right, welcome to part 2. I've got Nina Malosky and Beth Warren on the line. Welcome, ladies, to the Run Lift Mom podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. I'm so happy to be back.
I am so glad that the audience asked for a part 2 of this. And of course, we've got Nina. You're in a great position there to continue sharing your personal experience. And Beth Warren, I mean, if there's a gold standard for this kind of thing as far as a health professional, yay, ding, 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 we got
Yes.
That. Oh my gosh, thank you. That is so sweet. Thank you.
It's so true. So true.
Thanks, lady.
So something I want to, so Nina brought up in the last episode that perinatal depression is a term now that health professionals are using, and it's something that we can kind of be aware of when we're expecting baby. Beth, could you go into what that is exactly and what that might feel like?
Yeah, when I was listening to your podcast episode, Nina, I was so proud of you that you talked about the term perinatal, because it is true that these symptoms of anxiety, depression, even obsessive compulsive disorder, bipolar, trauma, all sorts of symptoms can start actually even during pregnancy, and or there can be a delayed onset, meaning some of these symptoms can start even upwards of a year, year and a half after having the baby. And so if a woman has these symptoms that are not immediately after birth, when we were just calling it postpartum depression, sometimes a woman was not then seeking help or speaking up to her provider because she was like thinking, well, okay, first of all, this wasn't necessarily depression. For example, 1 out of 5 women will have anxiety symptoms, much more common than depression, which is 1 out of 7 women. But also, if it was starting, let's say, during pregnancy, a woman might say to herself, and I hear this all the time from clients, well, if this isn't postpartum, then what is this? This is atypical, so I'm not going to speak up. There must be something wrong with me.
Yes.
I'm crazy, or I'm weak, or, maybe I'm already a bad mom, or I need to toughen up, or, whatever the case, usually with self-blame. And same thing with the delayed onset is, sometimes the most vulnerable periods of delayed onset are during big hormonal change, like when you get your first period, or when you're weaning breastfeeding, or starting another birth control. And so, that really could be like a year after. And so same thing, a woman might say to herself, well, I haven't heard of this. And it's not, and it might think to herself, it's not related to the birth of the baby. So might not speak up, might think like, again, what's wrong with me? I'm just crazy, or I'm weak, whatever. So that's why
Yeah.
we're calling it perinatal. And it's so important that we keep educating the public about that, so that it's not necessarily a matter of semantics, but the actual term itself doesn't even matter. It's not like it's politically correct or anything. It's much more that it just captures the right symptoms and onset. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Nina, so I've already told folks to back up and listen to our initial conversation. But
So good.
is some of this ringing true for you personally, Nina?
Oh, absolutely. You, for me, and for what I've heard from other moms, is that you feel like when you don't have someone to relate to, when you've never heard of it before, or when you can't identify with it, then you immediately self-blame. You immediately think something's wrong with me. My friend is, oh, she's doing great with this, and
Yeah.
I can't leave the house, or I can't sleep at night, even though I'm exhausted because I keep thinking about what's going to happen to the baby while I'm asleep, or what I did today. Or, oh, I didn't wash my hands when I was picking up the baby, or I let so-and-so kiss the baby. And you can't stop thinking about it. And there's this anxiety going over and over and over again. And if it doesn't fit into the kind of mold that we've told each other as a society, then you feel like something's wrong with me. I can't tell anybody this. If I tell somebody this, will they take away my baby? Will they say I'm a bad mom? So I feel like for me, and then from what I've heard too, it's just so incredibly important to recognize that it's not just depression. Not that, that just is minimizing it, but there's so much more than depression, and it can happen at any time. With mine, it was delayed as well.
Yeah.
And you said about 18 months is when you were when Noah was.
I was technically diagnosed at about a year. I went in at 7 months, and but when I started going in, they started telling me, and they being the psychologist that I saw at the time, and my regular doctor that I saw at the time, the general practitioner, was saying it's not postpartum depression because Noah's about to be a year old. So that's not what it is. And so it's so invalidating because you finally get the courage. I mean, I went kicking and screaming oh my gosh, I did not want to go. It was awful. It makes me teary just thinking about like how much I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And then you finally go and they're like, that's not what that is.
Oh,
yeah,
Nina, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
So Beth, what do you recommend? I'm sure Nina isn't the first person you've heard tell this story of like, ooh, I was scared to go in, and then I finally, maybe they're not even going somewhere. Maybe they just confide in a friend.
Yes.
And then that friend minimizes what's happening. Like, what would you say to someone?
Yeah. Oh, it's funny, Nina, as you were talking, even though you and I have talked before and I know your story, I still just feel it in my body, that like surge of profound empathy. And I'm just sorry you went through that. It is such a common story, unfortunately, because there are people who I think are very well intentioned, but do minimize either out of their own discomfort with seeing you struggle, or out of lack of information, or maybe a combination of both. They might call it baby blues, even when it's months and months later, and try to just say, oh yeah, that's baby blues, that's normal, where it might be an actual clinical depression or anxiety or, PTSD, and it's not going to just pass. And you feel it in your body, and you know that this is not me, this is not going away. And to then have someone minimize it feels almost maddening, because then, of course, like Nina's saying, you do go back to self-blame. Well, then what's wrong with me? Because it's not just going away, and this just doesn't feel like, occasional tearfulness or whatever. So, Susie, I love you're asking that question, because this is where it's really important to get to a provider who specializes in perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. And it's tough because if you do reach out to a provider like Nina's referencing, it often takes a lot of courage, and it takes energy to even just say, okay, I'm at the level where I recognize I need help, or maybe a loved one has pointed out to me that I need help. And then to actually go to an appointment takes effort, paying a copay, finding someone, all of that. And then if that person isn't informed and educated and might minimize, then it's like, well, drawing board. So if it's okay with you, can I share some resources of places where women can go where there are people who specialize?
That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
Ladies, get out your pens and paper or notes on your phone.
Yeah, can we just skip the middleman, in other words, and make sure that you're going? So worldwide, literally, there is a resource called Postpartum Support International, and the website is postpartum.net. And you can either go to the website or they do have a phone number helpline. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but if you go to their website, they have it listed.
I'll put it in the show notes as well, Beth.
Oh, cool. Thank you. And you can either call the helpline to find providers in your area or go to the website. And the website's really easy to navigate because not only can you pull up a map of your area and shoot out an email or a phone call to a coordinator in your area, no matter where you are, and find therapists, psychiatrists, support groups, etc. in your area. They also have tons of good resources on the website itself. So they have like online support groups. They have information and resources for partners. That sense of like, what the heck is my partner going through? And am I ever going to get her back? They even have online support groups for dads too, which are wonderful. Wow. So they have all sorts of great help. I'm here in San Diego, and we have a very similar one called Postpartum Health Alliance, and ours is postpartumhealthalliance.org. And we have the same thing, a warm line that people can call and speak to a volunteer and get a provider, and a website where you can access providers who also specialize. And then again, everywhere else, it's postpartum.net.
And I have that number, Susie, if you want me to just say it out real quick.
Nina.
Yeah, girl.
Sure. And it actually says, and I love this. It has the phone number. You can also text it. So for me and anyone that was with me during that time is probably laughing. I couldn't talk on the phone. I couldn't find the words. It was too much energy. It was too much exposure. I couldn't talk on the phone. I would not have I don't know if I'd have been able to call. I would have been able to text though. And so I love that there's a text option here. The number is for Postpartum Support International. It's 1-800-944-4773. And then the text number is a different number. The text number is 503-894-9453.
Thank you.
That's
Nina,
awesome.
You can't see me right now. It's a good thing this is audio. I'm your close friend, and the fact that you're in a position where you don't have the energy to talk on the phone really breaks my heart. Can we, we're doing a lot of pivoting here. Can we talk about, right? So some people are going to identify with Nina's story and they know what it feels like you can't talk on the phone.
Right.
What about?
And Susie, I think the reason that's no, you shouldn't edit it. I think the reason that it's hitting you so hard because this is what friends and family, this is what they feel. This is what they go through. And I think because for you, with us being so close, and I know hearing from close friends that didn't have any idea that I was going through all of this at the time because I didn't want them to. I put on a smile on my Facebook and my perfect pictures. And but I think, Susie, when it changes your personality so much, when you and I have spent so much time talking, that's kind of like that's our language. That's what we've always done for 20 years, have these deep conversations. When you hear that something has changed my personality so much, it's jarring.
Yeah.
And I think that and I think that so many family members and friends go through that. So I think it's important to talk about that and, to know.
I won't edit that. But real talk. Okay. So we've got people that can identify with what you went through, Nina. We've also got people like me, right? That my kids are a little bit older, but I'm still in that season of life where girlfriends are having babies. Or maybe, you know what, a lot of my audience, they're, this is the Run Lift Mom podcast. So I've got a lot of lady meatheads on here that work in gyms or, right, they're regulars at the road races. What about these folks that maybe could lend a hand to a friend? What might they recognize and what might they say to be a friend or push someone to get help?
I love that question. Do you mind? Can I jump in and then
go for it? Yes.
So I love that you're asking that question because I think that this is such an important concept of the village or the community, because it's beyond the responsibility of just the obstetrician or the pediatrician to help engage and assess and grab these mamas and really engage and get these moms to support. But it's this concept of moms are really, there's all these various intersection points where moms might be going to a support group or to an exercise class or to yoga or to a Mama and Me, whatever, music class. So there's all these various intersection points, and a mom herself might not be recognizing her symptoms, or she may be and just doing her best by getting out there. And so if we can continue to educate the public, that's why, Susie, I love so much that you're talking about this on your podcast, because it's not that you have a podcast devoted to mental health, but that you have a podcast, devoted to mama's physical health and well-being. And then you're talking also about the intersection now with mental health. And I love that because, if you have, let's say, a physical trainer listening who is working with primarily postpartum and pregnant mamas and has that awareness of the intersection where there could be a mom who she's working with that does appear depressed or anxious, how can they have a conversation about how are you really doing? And instead of kind of asking these vague questions of like, what can I do to help you? Actually, which puts the ownership on the mom to come up with something. And like Nina's saying, sometimes that's really hard to identify A, what you need, and B, like it's hard to even have the energy to make a phone call. Instead, maybe educating yourself about the resources that are out there, because sometimes it's a matter of saying, I'm concerned about you. This is what I'm noticing. Can I help you make the call? Can I give you a list of providers? Are you noticing that you appear different?
I love that.
I do too.
I love it because, if someone doesn't have the energy to even talk on the phone, one, they're not going to be able to tell you open-ended what they need. But then two, I love, like, if you, in a friendly, gentle way, take someone's hand like that, they're either going to go with you or they're going to be like, I don't need to go there, but they know it's a path.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, exactly. I like that wording. They know it's a path. And I think also, we talked about this on the previous podcast, but the importance of just listening to be able to get to that point, just letting the mamas feel like they have kind of a safe place, whether it's your friend or whether it's in a professional capacity, but just being able, a lot of times we think we have to have the right words to say, or we want to fix it. You're not going to be able to fix it. No. A lot of times we listen to respond. And so I think giving mamas the kind of freedom to talk and to discuss this kind of stuff and to feel safe is just invaluable.
Agreed. Awesome. Just having that dialogue. And here's the thing, I don't expect, for example, a physical trainer or physical therapist or lactation consultant to be experts on perinatal mental health, but even a willingness to have that conversation and sit in the discomfort and even be willing to know the resources or even check out the resources, have those conversations is great. When we do trainings here in San Diego on perinatal mental health, I love, love, love when our room is full to the brim with, birth workers and people who aren't in the mental health field. It just warms my heart so much because of that concept of the community, the village coming together.
So like what I'm hearing you say is one, anybody can listen and have their antenna up for
Yes.
stuff like this.
Yes.
And then
Well said.
Yes.
yeah, if you're listening to this podcast, you can also go to details and see the show notes and look at some of those great resources that Beth has brought up. But I mean, anybody can help because anybody can listen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Love it. The last thing I want to do is, so we know what our resources are. We even know maybe how to guide somebody to that path. Let's say I'm the mama, right? I'm Nina a few months in. What's the language I might use with a friend or a health professional or like my spin instructor? What might I say to somebody without feeling weak or silly?
Oh, yeah. Well, so I go to the big threes. Typically, this is what works for me. And when I'm doing trainings on perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, this is what I always go back to is how do you help differentiate what is, quote, like typical new mama adjustment versus a perinatal mood and anxiety disorder. And the big threes are duration, intensity, and frequency. And so that can really help guide a conversation with a provider or with someone as you're trying to kind of conceptualize, like, how are you doing? Duration meaning how long have these symptoms lasted? So let's look at like intrusive or worrisome thoughts or, anxious thoughts. Have they been lasting, about a week? Or has it been months that you've been experiencing this? So that kind of helps determine how gnarly are these? How have they been lasting a long time? Duration. Intensity meaning, like if you could put it on a 0 to 10 scale, whenever you hurt yourself and you go to the doctor and they're like on a 0 to 10, what's your pain? You're like, I don't know, I'm hurting. It's the same kind of thing, the intensity. Like, are you able to distract yourself? Let's use those anxious, intrusive thoughts again. Are you able to distract yourself pretty easily and then go about your day? Or are they so upsetting that it's
I think listeners of this podcast will know because with exercise, guys, this is like perceived exertion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
0 is, hey, this is a walk in the park. And 10 is I'm about to fall out and die, not a minute more.
That's totally it.
Yes.
Great analogy. Great analogy. That's exactly it. So with the intensity, I mean, let's be real. Every mom gets anxious. Every mom pictures bad crap happening to their baby, dropping the baby, all sorts of stuff. But can you, shift your attention back to what you were doing pretty easily? Or is it that hamster wheel thing where it continues to cause just... and then frequency meaning how often is this happening? Are you crying, just about once a day? And then again, you can shift your attention back, or is it all day, every day? Or is it, for an hour or two and it's just really lingering? So the frequency is amount of times. So I love the big threes as you're kind of not only checking yourself, but as you're then talking to the doctor, because doctors and therapists love symptom reports, and that will really help them get a gauge of the severity. And as you're kind of talking about, no, this is bad. And then especially as we were talking about, if you do happen to be with a provider who this isn't their area of focus and they are minimizing as you're doing this reporting and they still tend to minimize, then that really helps this isn't your person.
That's a great point.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, ladies, I want to thank you so much. This really helps bring it full circle. Nina, I think it's helpful for folks out there who might be having these feelings or who have felt these feelings before to hear from a mama firsthand. And I appreciate you opening up about it. And Beth, wow. I mean, slam dunk on not only what to do if we're feeling this ourselves, but also how to be a friend and help if we are just in somebody's tribe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're just doing our best, right?
Yeah.
You got it.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you so much.
Wow. I loved when Beth was like, hey, let's just skip the middleman and give you all the resources. Because you know what? Everybody deserves to know where this information is, whether it's a website or a hotline, and P.S., all of those things are in the show notes. It's important if you are expecting or you've had your baby and you're just not feeling like yourself to consider this. It's important to have your antenna up if you've got a neighbor, a friend, a family member, a gal at CrossFit, a running buddy, you're a personal trainer and you've got a client that hasn't been themselves. It's important to know enough to be dangerous. You don't have to be an expert in maternal mental health, but you should, and when I say know enough to be dangerous, I mean be there in that moment of discomfort to listen and to guide somebody on the right path. This is an important subject. I'm not going to pretend like I am a maternal mental health podcast, but I know the folks that listen to this podcast are courageous enough to have those antennas up. And I know also you're strong enough to admit if you just haven't been yourself. So guys, please check out the show notes for resources. And until I get into your earpiece again, remember, for while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also the life to come. That's from 1 Timothy 4:8, and this has been the Run Lift Mom podcast. Hey, Run Lift Mom listeners, you know I'm the mom of 4 kids under age 5, and therefore I am always looking for ways to work smart, not hard. Anchor is the smartest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you why. First of all, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, but Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so then it can be heard on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole lot more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is quite literally everything you need all in one place. And y'all, it's free. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It is time for the Zaya Active Product of the Week, and this week it is the All-Star Bra. The last marathon I did, I wore the All-Star Bra, and to be quite honest with you, when I didn't have any chafing at the end, I thought it was an isolated incident. Then, 3 weeks ago, I did a 100K race. That's 62 miles. That is 12 and a half hours out there. And at the start of the race, I was so preoccupied with my feet and keeping my feet healthy, I forgot to put Body Glide at my bra line and underneath my arms. Any runners out there are thinking, uh-oh, girl, game over. Not with the All-Star Bra. I was shocked to take that bra off after 0 outfit changes, 0 lubrication, 0 anything. And I had nothing underneath my bra line, under my arms, like nowhere was there any chafing. I can talk your ear off as to why this happened, but what I want to do is direct you toward any of the socials, Instagram, Facebook, search for hashtag RunLiftMom. You can find me there, learn about the All-Star Bra. I'm giving one away. You guys, it's the gold standard. Like what you heard? I am just getting started with the Run Lift Mom podcast. And as a newbie podcaster, it is really helpful for me if you subscribe, rate, and review. And to show you just how much I appreciate that, I'm going to be giving away a Zaya Active Item of the Week every single week during the month of February. I am calling this my Galentine's celebration, and here's how it works. If you have left a review, you are already in the drawing. If you haven't left a review, I would appreciate your honest words. So go ahead and leave a review, and then every single week I'm going to be doing a drawing for that item of the week. Get excited. I'm new. Your odds are good. I want you to experience Zaya as well as the knowledge our great guests are giving us about running, lifting, and momming.
Focus of your podcast is a bit different. It's more with health and mamas who are exercising and working out. But what I find is there are so many different intersection points that a mom might be engaging, like with her acupuncturist and voice her symptoms, or with her physical therapist because she's doing like pelvic floor damage repair or whatever. And so I love that you are talking about this on your podcast, because it's all these different touch points. It's not just always the OB's responsibility or the pediatrician's responsibility. So anywhere we can get this information out is just golden.
Yes.